And now, moving into our segment where we talk about a little bit more of the college basketball prospects that we're excited to see in college. We're not really going to talk about Victor and Scoot and the Thompson twins, but we want to talk about some of the college players who we think are going to have major seasons for their schools or even take some leaps up into that higher echelon of the draft class this year. I'm going to start off by saying I am really excited to see Nick Smith and Dariq Whitehead. Nick Smith is a prospect for Arkansas, and they're a very talented young team this year. They had a lot of incoming 5 stars this year, and Nick is probably my favorite of the bunch just because he reminds me of like a mixture of Cade Cunningham and Luka.
Wow.
Yeah. I was thinking about this. I know in the past I've been a guy who's like, nah, we can't do these comparisons, but like that's just what came into my mind when I was watching him. You know, he really thrives out in transition, and the way he just makes plays for others quickly, and he's a good catch and shoot player. Not to mention he's also like 6'7", so that paired with, you know, his basketball IQ, I think is what really makes him special.
Yeah, I remember watching in the summer and some of these off-season either scrimmages or just matchups with other teams. He really looks almost too big for the point guard position at times. Like, I know you say he's kind of these top orchestrators for the Razorbacks this coming season, but Nick Smith is going to be so hard to deal with for other teams in the SEC because not every team is going to have somebody that can guard on the perimeter that's that tall and long defensively, especially because he's so fast with the ball. I mean, he could easily dominate just driving right to the hole.
Yeah. And I also like, another thing I like about his game is a lot of these taller prospects, even when they're guards, it seems like, you know, they just don't really have the shooting game down that well. But it seems like he's somebody who, I don't want to say the shooting game, but just playing without the ball in your hands. And it seems like he's a player who can really shoot like and move without the ball when he doesn't, you know, have the ball in his hands. Like he can come off screens, or if he's just sitting in the corner. And I think because they're going to have Anthony Black, who's another good point guard that can facilitate. And I think having him alongside a Black will be really good for his game. And then the next player that I want to talk about for Duke is Dariq Whitehead. I was watching some of his highlights, and he's probably the best athlete in this class. Fast, he can jump. Actually, no, I don't want to say that because Scoot exists. But but I do think he is one of the more electric scorers. I could see it being Scoot and Derrick by the end of the season, fighting for that 2 and 3 position. And he's also going to be teaming up with Derrick Lively and Kyle Filipowski, so he's going to have a lot of talent around him. And I think it'll be kind of a good measure to see how he's going to play when he's around other talented players in the NBA.
Yeah, Duke is going to be fun to watch. They've got a lot of guys that I'm also interested in as well. Derrick Lively being one of them. Another just really talented and skilled 7-footer. He can play with the ball in his hands. He's good defensively. Duke under a new coach as well. No more Coach K there. So how are they going to do in their first year with still featuring these kind of young prospects leading the way? Really excited about that.
Yeah. Also, I want to talk about a player who's just, he's going to be a highlight reel every night. And that's Cam Whitmore from Villanova. That man is, I don't know what his height is, but I want to say he's like 6'9", and he's practically built like LeBron almost. And the way that he just moves with the ball in his hands, like he can take it off the bounce and then just, it's almost like Zion-esque, I want to say. Like, I think every game he's going to have a nasty poster. We're going to check Instagram, and then somebody's just going to have balls in their face. Like, that's just what it is. That's just what it is.
Oh, my gosh.
But he's another player I'm excited. And I also think he's just probably a good defensive prospect as well, because I think he might be one of the better two-way prospects in this draft, and those are really high value.
Would you compare him to maybe a more athletic Paul Millsap?
Honestly, I think I could see that a little bit. Yeah. The way
Because Paul Millsap's, he's kind of like that strong power forward.
Yeah, and he has that quick bounce too. So he's like Paul Millsap if he had a little bit more of a quick first step, I'd say, yeah.
One of my other guys that I think is probably going to be one of my guys throughout the season for Kentucky is Antonio Reeves. He's a senior guard, 6'5", 205, and he's not one of these freshman stars like we've been talking about for the last few minutes. Played at Illinois State for the last few years. Now in his senior year, getting his big shot for Big Blue. But, I mean, this guy shoots the lights out. We've seen it in these preseason kind of midnight madness scenarios in the three-point contest. Reeves is crazy. I don't know if he'll get into the starting lineup right away, depending on who they go to in that backcourt. Of course, Xavier Wheeler is going to be back there as well. So I feel like he may be the best shooter in the SEC, and he may not even be in the starting lineup for Kentucky. So that just goes to show how talented the SEC is.
Yeah, that was definitely a major pickup. I'm not going to lie, I didn't know too much about his game, but as you said, we saw some of those preseason games, and he could shoot the lights out. And I think Kentucky, they were already a dangerous team before. They're going to have a fire under them, specifically with how they went out last year and Oscar Tshiebwe coming back, who was Player of the Year. So I think Kentucky, right now, they're honestly my favorite to win, but we'll see how March Madness eventually upsets all that and ruins my prediction. And one last player I do want to talk about, and yes, another KU guy. I know. You're biased, Brandon. I'm not. I promise. But I just want to talk about this guy because I know we talked about Antonio Reeves, but I think that this guy might be one of the purest shooters in the first round of the draft this year. I was watching some Grady Dick film, and I just really like the way that he plays the game, and I think that his size and the way that he just shoots over defenders is something that is really going to make him valuable. I don't think he's going to be a superstar in the NBA, but I think this year he can be really pivotal to the Jayhawks' success, and I think a lot of how we're going to do this year is really going to rely on the way he performs, because I think we need a little bit, even after our championship run, I think we still need a little bit more of identity right now, because I feel like right now we just don't have those same guys that kind of set the tone with us. And I think his performance and his leadership that he'll bring will be really useful.
Yeah, and he's got a lot of shoes to fill. I mean, you lose Ochai, you lose Christian Brown, even McCormick, who was really good in the Final Four for the Jayhawks. So Grady Dick, I mean, he's an NBA-level shooter, but will he be able to shoot night in and night out in the Big 12? That's going to be the question.
We will see.